Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into a really fascinating book, The Law of Success by Paramahansa Yogananda. And it makes a pretty bold claim that most of us are chasing a version of success that's fundamentally flawed, and that real, lasting achievement comes from a source we almost always overlook. So let's start with a really big question, one that the book opens with. Is there some kind of hidden power inside of us that can unlock not just wealth, but lasting health, true happiness, and even spiritual enlightenment? Yogananda believed the answer was a resounding yes. And here's the kicker. He's not talking about something you have to go out and find. He taught that this incredible power, it's your divine birthright. It's something we're all born with, but most of us have just forgotten how to use it. So today, we're going to open up this inner toolkit that he describes. We're going to explore the principles for unlocking a kind of success that honestly has very little to do with your bank account or your job title. All right, let's dive right in. But first, we've got to completely redefine what we're even aiming for. And spoiler alert, it's probably not what you think. I mean, Yogananda really throws down a challenge with this one. Just think about it for a second. You could have perfect health, all the money in the world, but if you're constantly at war with other people, and even with yourself, are you truly successful? He argues it's a completely hollow victory. So for him, the real yardstick of success isn't wealth or prestige. It's your ability to maintain a state of deep, unshakable happiness, no matter what's going on around you. It's about being in peaceful harmony with the way things are.
Okay, so what's the first tool in our kit for building this kind of life? Well, it's the most powerful architect you've got, your very own mind. And this is where it gets really interesting. Yogananda says our thoughts, they're not just these passive things floating around in our heads. Nope, they are active mental magnets. Whatever you consistently focus on, you are actively pulling those conditions, the good and the bad, right into your life. So you can think of it like this. Your mind is always working, kind of like two different magnets. Success thoughts, thoughts of optimism, courage, possibility, they literally act as a magnet, pulling positive outcomes and opportunities toward you. But failure thoughts, worry, doubt, limitation, they do the exact opposite. They create an environment where it's just plain harder to succeed. But there is one major obstacle that can just paralyze this mental architect. It can totally sabotage all its good work. And that enemy, it's fear. Yogananda's description here is, wow. He calls it an energy vampire that literally drains your vitality, your life force. It doesn't just make you feel bad emotionally, it weakens you physically, and crucially, it paralyzes your will to act. So, how do you fight back against that fear? Well, to overcome it, you've got to switch on the engine of your success, your will. He calls your willpower the dynamo of your being, the engine that drives everything you do. But listen, this isn't about just gritting your teeth and using brute force. It's about cultivating what he calls a dynamic, conscious, and directed energy. Okay, so how do we actually build this dynamic will? Well, Yogananda lays out this really practical 3-step workout. First, start small. Master one little thing you thought you couldn't do, just to build that confidence muscle. Second, pick a constructive, achievable goal and commit to it. Refuse to even entertain the idea of failure. And finally, focus. Pour all your energy into that one thing until it's done. And this quote, man, it just perfectly captures the whole mindset, right? It's about what you do in that moment of complete exhaustion. Real willpower isn't about never getting tired. It's about finding that strength to give that one last punch when you think you have absolutely nothing left. All right, now for the final and honestly the most powerful tool in the whole toolkit, aligning your personal will with something much, much bigger. Yogananda uses this absolutely beautiful analogy. He says our personal will is like a tiny little boat in this vast, huge ocean. Now, you can try to row against the waves, right? Just fighting and struggling and exhausting yourself. Or you can raise your sails and let that divine will, that larger, universal intelligence, carry you effortlessly toward your destination. So the big question is, how do you raise those sails? The key, he says, is meditation. And I love this description. Think of your mind as a mental microphone. When it's just full of static and restlessness, you can't broadcast your intentions clearly, and you certainly can't receive any guidance. Meditation is how you repair that microphone, calming the static so you can finally tune in to the signal. Okay, but let's be real. What happens when things go wrong? Because they will, right? Well, Yogananda has this completely revolutionary perspective on the role of failure. For most of us, failure feels like a dead end, a brick wall. But Yogananda, he saw it as the most fertile ground you could possibly find. He says the season of failure is literally the best time to plant the seeds for your future success. I mean, that is such a radical reframe. Every single setback isn't a final judgment on you. It's just data. It's valuable information you need to analyze so you can make your next attempt smarter, more focused. Your success isn't just what you've done in the past. It's what you've done plus what you do right now. So when you put it all together, the law of success really flips our typical approach completely on its head. True success isn't about hustling harder and harder in the outside world. It's an inside-out job. It's about mastering your inner world first, your thoughts, your will, and how you choose to see your setbacks. And he offers the simple affirmation as a really powerful daily practice. It's basically a way to consciously line up your own thoughts, your own will, and your own actions with that higher guidance, to ask to be pointed toward the right thing to do. And that leaves us with one last question to think about. If your thoughts, your will, and your actions were all perfectly aligned today, what's that one right thing you would do? What's the very first step on your path to true success?